G'day and welcome back to Star Citizen. Today we are having a look at one of the other ships that was added in 2.0, and that is of course this ship right here, the RSI Constellation Andromeda, which if you recall I did a video in some time back and it looked a little different to what it does now, because not only is it flyable now, they changed a whole lot about the ship. But it's easier to just show you instead of just talking about it, so how about we just get on with it. So you'll see they've changed the framing around here a bit. Coincidentally, if you want to see what it looked like previously, just click on the car that I've put in on this video so that you can go straight to the previous model and just compare it. But yeah, so you can see the bridge has had its struts adjusted. They've adjusted these little what are they called, like sort of VTOL fans. They sort of stick out a little more than they did before. The turrets now by default face backwards, and you will see they're an entirely different design again. They've got these rather large guns and lots of visibility, which is what you want in a turret. If you move on back, they've modified these airlocks. As you can see here, they're a completely different design, and it says they're usable, but I'm pretty sure they're not right now. You've got these missile pods now that actually fold out and the missiles fire from them, which is very nice, and you can actually reload them from inside the cargo bay, or at least that's the idea. You can't actually reload them just yet, but you can see the mechanism for reloading them. If we duck under before we continue going through the ship further, you'll see we've got the ventral turret here, still looking more or less the same as it did. You've got these maneuvering thrusters, which have had, don't crash into the ship. You've got these maneuvering thrusters that have had an entire redesign compared to what they were. And if we move on the underside, this is the new boarding ramp. You'll see instead of being the little circular thing it was before, it's now a great big rectangle, because one of the biggest complaints was that only one person could use it at a time. Or one person could use it at a time. I don't know what I just said then, ignore that. But yeah, so what that basically means is now the entire crew can fit on this elevator, which makes it a whole lot more useful. Now you see more missile pods here. Actually, these aren't the missile pods, these are the beds, because the beds have got proper escape pods that now actually look like mechanisms that will work. Under the back here, you'll see you've got just, the cargo bay that hasn't really changed a lot. The engine design, a lot more angular than it was, like it's lost the weird dome things it had previously, but otherwise they're pretty similar. Moving on up, these side airlocks have had a complete redesign. We've got a bit of Z fighting on the texture there. But yeah, the airlocks have had a complete redesign. They are no longer windows, which is a shame. So that means the only windows on the Constellation are those on the bridge itself. And if we move on here, the missile arm have been readjusted, but they're still there, at least on the Andromeda. You got the top engine with one of the big guns, the size 4 guns that you can fit on there, at least size 4 at the moment. And you've got a nice bit where it says Constellation on the side here. I just turn my light on so we can see it better. Because, who doesn't want to have the name of your ship on there? Hopefully in game we can change it out from saying Constellation to whatever our ship's name actually is. More maneuvering thrusters as we move around the back, and then you got the engines themselves. And not only do you have the engines, but if we duck under here, you will see the Merlin, which has had its docking clamp entirely redesigned yet again. This is the third time it's been moved. However, you will see it is the current flyable Merlin design. However, the Merlin itself is not flyable yet because they haven't got the docking system enabled. Once they do though, that will be great. Whoop. I don't know what happened there, but I just clipped through the ship. That is the fun of, well, early access style things, but the ship is now moving away from us, so let's just get on closer in, and I will see, can I get back in here? Hopefully. Yeah, we should be able to, but it's moving as well, so that is just great. I don't even know what happened there. That was fun. But yeah, I'll probably jump until I'm actually back inside the ship, because this this doesn't look like it's getting anywhere. Well, that was quite an ordeal, but welcome back to the interior of the Constellation Andromeda. Now, have to be thankful that I cut out a lot of that, because I had like 3 attempts trying to get into the Constellation, and each time either the game would disconnect, crash, or the conning would lock up and I wouldn't be able to interact with anything. So let's hope I'm still able to interact with things here, because this game is incredibly early and it's incredibly buggy, particularly with its animations. But anyway, let's get on with actually showing you the ship. So this is the bridge interior, that is from the new standpoint, obviously. So you'll see the displays have been redesigned for both the co-pilot chairs and the captain's chair, which also operate, individually, much like the Freelancer. They have tabs so they can switch and operate with different things, although they are only useful when there is actually power to the ship, which for now requires someone sitting in the captain's seat. So there's the third seat. You'll also see the seats have been redesigned a little. If we turn around, you will see one of the biggest changes. There is a bulkhead now, finally, which actually means you can go into other parts of the ship and have some, integrity in case of pressure failure or whatever. Also, you'll notice the turret chair is now accessed from the other side to try and alleviate the issue of trying to get in the captain's seat and getting into the turret instead, which was such a pain. Also, if we look on the other side, you'll see they've got these placeholder sections for where the avionics systems and life support. There's avionics, you've got shield generator. Basically, in the final game, you will need to do maintenance for things, in case of battle damage, and these will be where those systems are. But anyway, let's move on through this nice bulkhead door into the revamped interior living quarters. Because yes, the Constellation finally has living quarters that are, actual living quarters. So whilst the bridge is all that dark sort of lit area, because, night vision or whatever, the living quarters are nice and bright. You've got the toilet shower here, you've got personal lockers for the crew, you've got an actual armory sort of gun rack for, repelling boarders or whatever. You've got the table here, some more storage space, and a sort of lounge table, which is, much nicer than what we had before, which was practically useless. Although, if you look around, I'm just doing sort of a pan, you'll see that we've still got no real actual, galley equipment, which is a shame. There's the airlock, which you can see is quite sizable, now we're standing on it, and there's the other airlock above us. So let's keep moving onwards. You'll see here, these are the escape pods, been redesigned again. They've got these nice shielding with blast doors that will roll down before they launch, which we've seen the animation of, but you can't see them here. Now, if we move on through this bulkhead, we will move into the cargo area, which looks more or less the same, if very dark. Now, this is with the spotlight on my helmet. If I turn it off, you'll see it is a bit darker, and that is my main concern with the ship at the moment, is that it all seems too dark. But that is a thing that Star Citizen in general has been doing lately, is making the ships very dark and sort of black colours, which I'm not a fan of because, well, space is already dark, so dark interiors in dark space means all your fancy detailing work is sort of lost. But yeah, if we walk here, you'll see this is the reload system I was talking about for the missile racks. You'll see there's a whole bunch of missiles stacked in here. The idea being that you'll have them stowed in a locker, presumably one of these, although these have got more systems like shield gen there. But they would go into there and then you sort of unload them into the rack so you can actually, fire, which is useful. There's one on the other side there as well, just so you can see. I'm also curious to see if they're animated at the moment for when you're firing, but we don't have any indicator of that, so that's a shame. And if we keep on moving towards the back, you'll see we've got the gravity generator on that side, and this side we've got, I presume, some sort of power generator, it just says high voltage. And then the cargo bay, which is actually operated by the switches now, which is nice. But you can see there, the cargo bay is basically still the same split door thing it always was. And finally, if we move through the last bulkhead here, we will see the redesigned Merlin docking area, if it wants to let me actually, use it. Come on. There we go. See, sometimes it's a pain to find them. But yeah, you'll see here you've got power plants, there's lots of danger signs. This is like the engineering section. So I'm assuming these lights will actually be screens, but who knows. If we move on here, you'll see that the Merlin docking port, instead of being a tunnel you climb down now, is literally the cockpit. The idea being you would just get in there, undock and fly, which is very nice. You can see a little bit of the Merlin cockpit there, which I've done a video in that ship as well, so if you want to see that better, you may want to go have a look at that one. But yeah, so that is the interior redesign of the Constellation. Apparently they were able to halve the number of polygons in use in the whole ship, which is nice. However, it still performs fairly slow on my computer, as you may be able to tell. But this is Star Citizen, so that is to be expected. Now, I'm going to see if it'll let me actually pilot the ship so I can show you the pilot's HUD for a moment. But after that, I'll be calling it an end to the video. So, yep, we got these usual slow animations. Apparently they will be adding faster ones, which is nice. But, yeah, so here we go. You'll see the screens fold down. And there we go. Here's our actual piloting view. So we'll throttle up. It's very similar to the Aurora, which makes sense because they're both RSI ships. Let's just turn away from the planet a bit. And let's speed up. So we'll go into space combat mode, or SCM speed. You'll see that's 155 meters a second. If we switch on over into cruise, that'll take us into 300. Oh, I forget what faster the cruise is on the Connie actually. It's take us to about 635 by the look of it. So yeah, also you can see up there our shields recharging. If you were in an engineering station, you'd be able to access them, but we can't really do that at the moment because we're flying the ship. But yeah, it handles alright. I mean, I'm in cruise at the moment, so it's going to handle a lot slower. Oh, bit of redding out there from the G's at such high speeds. But yeah, it's a nice enough display. I think it gives you every bit of information you need, whilst not being too cluttered or too hard to read. I would like these weapon systems on the bottom left there to be slightly redesigned so that, you know, they're a bit easier to read. But other than that, I'm quite fine with this display. I think it works pretty well, actually. I haven't really flown the Constellation much because of the mentioned bugs and problems. But yeah, so it handles alright. The one change that I haven't shown in this video is that the landing gear has been redesigned. Instead of the skids, it has proper like feet now that it lands on, which makes a bit more sense and they look a lot more durable and able to handle the weight. But anyway, that was the Constellation Andromeda. If we switch on out, we'll see ourselves cruising past in the shadow of space. But yeah, so that is the Constellation Andromeda, and this is Star Citizen. I'm Denodon. Safe landings.